Thank you very much for choosing this session. My name is Yoot Saito. I'm a game creator, and I am from Tokyo, and I am based in Tokyo. So today, I would like to speak about how I create Seaman, and with showing some other documentations, I will mention about a kind of difficulty in creating a brand new software. So before starting everything, I would like to introduce myself. I'm I was born in 1962, the year that the Beatles released their first record. And I started my career when I was 28 or 9 maybe, so. And the first one did not sell well, so you may never know the first title. But second one, which is now here known as Sim Tower, made a great score. This is a kind of simulation game of building a skyscraper. And it's really released from Maxis as a sequel to SimCity, so it did really sold well. I'm a little bit nervous today.
Okay, we love you.
Thank you. So Sim Tower is a simulation that you have your own building, and oh, this is a very good video on YouTube. So yeah, this. So when you stretch your building to a higher level, your elevator shaft have to cover more stories. So there occurs a traffic jam. So you have to be very careful. Otherwise, the tenant will be leaving your building, and you will get less profit. So you have to keep the customer satisfaction, like a stress of waiting elevator car in certain level. And you have, as the skyscraper grow bigger, you have to have more urban functions, and so you have to put like hospitals and schools, some other urban functions in it. And the key is how to make your elevator very smart, setting the priority, like whatever. Anyway, I don't have so much time, so let's go to the next one. I'm still a little bit nervous. So Odama is one of my favorite game I had made, but it was not so much successful in sales because we took too long. It was launched after Nintendo GameCube was almost vanishing in the market, and the brand new one was almost coming up. So, but this is a very unique game in the way that this is a
passengers and the stupid mayor and his damn luggage out on time. Then he gets to do it all again the next day with 5 tiers of
I'm sorry. This is a combination of pinball and a battle on the battlefield. And I had a motivation as a game creator that I wanted to simulate the crowd of the people. So, with a voice command, you are controlling these troopers for certain directions, as well as you hitting back the ball like a pinball. Do not try not to damage your soldiers, but the enemy's soldier. It's a kind of not easy job. Right, it's a kind of crazy game, yeah. How many of you know this Odama? Did you raise? Oh, thank you. It's kind of very famous. Oh, thank you. All right. And I would like to start talking about Seaman. So if an executive guy of a computer game company came to you and asked you if you can make guaranteed game title to be a hit, which option would you like to choose from all? Would you like to choose out of these three? One is, it's a kind of dragons and dungeons, so that certain kind of market is guaranteed because it has a large share of the video game, and adding a little bit new feature on it, or maybe an adventure game using the famous licensed characters of Hollywood. That's also a kind of guaranteed to be a hit, I think, though it costs a lot. Or a kind of rare beast of game like nothing that came before it. And I wound up going with option 3. That's going to be a Seaman. And there are several reasons for this. I think for a creator, it's better to choose the option that seems to fit the best, rather than the one you think is correct. Option 3 differs from 1 and 2 because putting it into the practice requires inventiveness and courage. I'm a game creator who's good at making new titles. Oh my God. Because I am not very good at making sequels. Even with my original title, that became hits. And that's why I went with the choice 3, although it looks as more difficult option anyway. And that's what led to the release of Seaman. Seaman, among the other titles, holds the records of sales on the Dreamcast platform. It succeeded in attracting the most new customers, people who didn't own Dreamcast or Sega games up to the point. The game also enjoyed the largest ratio of female fans. It even became a kind of social phenomenon in Japan. I will show you later about the TV program show introducing the Seaman. But this talk today isn't about how to produce hit titles. Then what the theme will be? Well, when you're trying to create something completely new, you're always going to find yourself lost at some point in the process. I want to talk about how you find a way firmly out from indecision to accomplish your work. So let's start about why I came up with this crazy game in the first place. It all started with a lunchtime joke. All it came down to was me having lunch with my staff at the company I was running at the time. At the time, my company was selling one game produced by me, Sim Tower, and another non-game entertainment software managed by another team. This application worked on high-res Mac, and it lets you raise tropical fish with a beautiful screen of Macintosh. We had this huge staff undergoing this huge amount of research to make this app that faithfully simulated the growth of living things. We had actual aquariums in our office, and there are staffers from agricultural colleges to observe them and digitize them. We were doing the kind of work research labs at zoos normally do, inside of an office right in the middle of the Roppongi. Roppongi is a kind of very pricey place in Tokyo, so it's an area like here. So it was considered that they were calculating things more minutely than they actually needed to. I was the manager of the company, and I was jokingly complaining about this. I am not making an app that costs that much time and effort to research for normal aquarium. Wouldn't people expect something that gives dramatic changes? Creatures growing feet and hands, or going up on the land? Isn't that more entertaining? That's what I was saying to the staff around me. And the staff responded by laughing heartily and asking me all the sort of questions about it. I was on the roll at this point, so I kept saying more stuff. Around the time, there was a TV show on the Saturday nights with a famous comedian. At the very end of the show, he used to look right at the camera and say, "What are you looking at? You dumbass?" I thought maybe the fish living in the aquarium, being stared at by a lot of people from outside, may think like that way too. And he would say, "What are you looking at? Huh?" Then I said that I wanted to have voice recognition system on it to reply, "Shut down, just let me sleep." That's why I figured I'd need a human face. And this reminded me of sea monkey. A sea monkey, you know the sea monkeys? Yeah, it's real creature. I purchased this creature. These eggs is hatches and starts swimming once it's put in the water. The name of sea monkey and its package design stuck around in my child's brain only because it looks so creepy to me. So I said, for now, if I'm gonna put a name to it, it will be Seaman, not a sea monkey. That's the first Seaman's name was decided. After this joking lunch, my interest in this concept kept still running in my head. So I started sketching it out. And one day, I told about those ideas to my wife. And she said, "Wow, I had this. What a gross." And we dropped it all that. After some time has passed, one day my wife suddenly asked me, "How's your concept going?" "Why?" I answered, "You gotta do that." And I said, "Oh, but you said you hated that." And she said, "Yes, I did, but I didn't say I'm disinterested." That was a very surprise to me because she really liked that. I mean, she didn't say she liked that, but what I learned was the opposite of hate is not like, but indifferent. That concept is a very, very big change in my life, and that leads to Seaman concept also. There was another incident right around then. This became another trigger for me to build a new theory, which turned out to be one of the most important elements of Seaman. I heard from my old friend that a pair of co-workers had gotten married. This couple pretty much constantly fought with each other all year. It always put everyone around them on edge. So hearing they got married was a big surprise to me. My old friend, actually he was a manager of those both people, smiled and told me, "Hey, Saito-san," he said the same thing. "The opposite of like isn't hate, right?" So right then and there, I made a huge discovery. I decided to have this character's presence hated by most people, instead of trying to, have it being loved. If you succeed to make someone having a hate for something, all it can take is a single flip of the switch for that to turn into like. In fact, the more you hate something, the more your mind becomes preoccupied with it. It made me think maybe this kind of creepy games I was thinking of could gather interest from the people after all. I figured I might as well go all the way with it. Actually, I'm reading this. So with two programmers, I started a kind of prototyping of Seaman. And with a very private reason, I started here in Berkeley, in California, not in Japan. And one day, one executive guy of Sega came to me, and he started talking about the new hardware, and talk about they had a severe competition with Sony, and they're looking for a very strong and a strange title, which will be called the killer title for the hardware. Now it's called Dreamcast. So I opened up my laptop PowerBook to the guy and showed the prototype of Seaman. And he again said, "Wow, it's creepy." Yeah, I know. And that was the starting. That Seaman project really just started forward. So for my directions, I settled on pursuing three opposites. By opposite, I mean three major ways in which this game was different from the conventional hit titles or your typical game in general. Maybe more to be hated than to be disinterested. Yeah, the first one is non-cute characters, as you may already know. The second point that instead of having users project themselves onto the game's characters, we wanted to have them feel like someone's peeking at them from within the TV sets. No, actually, that was the third one. I was talking about the third one, I'm sorry. The second one is talk about the reality around the user, not a fantasy world, which means games in general provide an alternate space, a fantasy world or whatever, spread out on the screen. Players' adventures around the space make new discoveries and so on. However, I wanted to have this game confuses it by mixing reality and the fantasies. That leads to the reality fusing with the fantasy, producing a strange, confusing feeling. That's the second opposite. The third one opposite is how the game works from the user's perspective. Normally, a game story proceeds with the game characters not being aware of the players. In movies, there's this iron rule that characters can't look into the camera. That's because audience presence must never be a factor. This game's character, however, looks right into the camera. He talks like the user, like he's looking right into their living room. The game uses the aquarium metaphor to make this easy to understand. I worked to create a sort of a common link between users and Seaman during the development. At the time, I thought I was going wherever my creativity and curiosity took me. But I found myself realizing that I needed some guiding theories to lead the project to the goal. If it wasn't for these theories, I feel like I wouldn't have yielded to all the kinds of suggestions and requests. And the resulting game would have been very different. Creating something that's never existed before is a kind of battle against indecisions. When you're at a fork in the road, you need a focal point to strive for. And I conquered this with these theories that served my boat. About the word theory is, here, I mean the theory is something, it's not so much established. So if this English word is really correct or not, I'm not sure. It's more like a hypothesis? Yeah, it's not yet proven. It's not approved by the authority. It's something like more unstable, insecure, that you built in your mind. So I made up my hypothesis and trying to prove that through the development. So to make this a hit, we needed a strong theme running through the conversation with the Seaman that could capture anyone's interest. What is it? And now we decided the direction as the daily lives of the players themselves. Talking to a pit doesn't have any thematic element to it. It doesn't guarantee a hit. If you have all these disparate themes flying around, the players aren't going to spend their valuable time on it. There needs to be a structure of understanding that players are working towards something, or else the players won't sit at the control seat. So to achieve that, the conversations had to be themed around something that any player will be interested in. What kind of theme would any player be interested in? So our answer is that, the daily lives of players. I think there are people who aren't interested in fantasy worlds, but my theory was that nobody's uninterested in themselves. Doesn't matter if they like it or dislike it. So along with this theory, I started designing conversations. To put it in another way, the user shares his own personality and relationship along with the game's character. And these conversations were structured along with lines of, you are raising a pet, only to discover in the end that the pet was raising you all along. Question 2. How do we make people with even no interest in Sega games purchase this? This was also very important to me. Alongside the thrill of dealing with this grotesque pet, I made Seaman to be thoroughly dependent on the player. I think that helped tickle the player's parental instinct. And I think that connected in a big way to its success or at the non-gamers market. Excuse me. Seaman's incredibly self-centered behavior greatly reduces the player's freedom. But people seem to like that part of it. You have this situation where you have to go home every day at the same time. But it seems that he's connected to players finding it worth doing. I heard a lot of cases at bars and such, where players said they had to go home ASAP to feed their Seaman. I also heard from many people about episodes where they'd go on vacation with their Dreamcast, plug into the hotel's TV sets, and feed their pet. It seems like being needed by someone else energizes people. You also see a lot of cases where if they are no longer needed, that de-energize people. You often see this in the way the people retired from work. Question 3. How do we appeal this game in us? So we decided not to sell our new tech. In the ads, we simply use the term raising. New technical jargon sounds cool if you're lining up in the event like GDC. Let's use this sentence for an example. Wow, 4-player real-time battle system provides exciting team combat or something like that. That really scares users, especially non-gamers. Creators tend to boast about what we are proud of, right? But any entertainment needs to have a structure of understanding because you're asking people to go through the entrance you've built. I think you need a trick in replacing their fear of the unknown with something they have already in their minds. When a person gains an understanding of something new, they tend to think of it using an understanding of something older. That's why successful new technologies have always entered our lives by masquerading as old things. For example, cell phones. These were very different from regular phones, rather closer to the radio transceivers. Our doorbells don't have bells. What you did see was raising, giving food, taking care of it, talking to it once a day. These phrases are what we used in the ads instead of voice recognition technologies equipped with the AI technology things. We consider to promotions with old-fashioned pet raising. Actually, this is the graphic of the first ad of the Seaman in the market, and that was done not for a game magazine, but it was done for women's magazines. And this is, yeah, something weird, but the question 4 was one of the most difficult questions to me. Who should do the voice actor of the Seaman? Does he have to be a famous one? Yeah, actually, this question was one of the most difficult one of this project. Games, like movies, can create buzz by casting a famous actor. So this question has been the biggest headache. And in the end, we cast an actor who was almost completely unheard of for Seaman. Me. I did that actor. This was the ultimate decision, and purpose of this was just to keep the quality of voice and recording to its most. And this voice actor guy didn't cost anything. And could do retakes wherever they wanted. I, as a director, didn't have to worry about maintaining a good rapport between an actor and director. When the work was over, I, as a voice actor, would have no further voice jobs. So we didn't have to worry about rumors going around the industry like, oh, I did the Seaman's voice, and the director was a total pain to work with, something like that. That's what allowed the identity of Seaman's voice to remain totally unknown. It was an incredibly unique decision that we have made. But in the end, projecting this mysterious air was really effective for promotion. This is true even for the PlayStation version that was released 2 years later. Question 5. Yeah, how about the voice actor? How about the other voice actor? Yeah, we needed someone else to support. But just like the rookie, political candidates benefit from a big name. And actually, we needed somebody very famous to support this unknown character. And we picked Leonard Nimoy. And that's my idea. I don't know why I wanted to have him, but finally Sega America agreed to make a contract with him. I didn't think it was a very easy job because he's really a star. But for the Japanese edition, we employed a famous actor with a long career and had him use his real name within the games. And Mr. Leonard Nimoy named his own name in the MC also. The results of that were great. I will show you.
Let's head over to the tank. Of running out of food for Seaman later. But if you manage the larva well, you should have no problem keeping Seaman well fed. At the moment, the habitat contains 2 gillmen. They appear to be
I'm hungry. Give me something to eat. I'm starving. I'll bet if I...
You want to see some other videos?
Don't tell your mother.
As come out.
Oh, and with claim rate guard, they won't raise your rates just because of the claim.
That's why you're my favorite.
I know. It's good to be in good hands.
I'm sorry.
Easy, Angry, Atari, Amiga, CDI, ColecoVision, and Television, Sega, Neo Geo, TurboGrafx, 16, Odyssey, 3DO, Commodore,
This is one of the funniest YouTube
Website no
video
longer
that
exists, but I heard it was once a porn
about
site.
Seaman.
I just heard, that's all. A Dreamcast game that sends you to porn. More like wet Dreamcast. Set the time? Since when did video game consoles start telling time? I have a clock. A rolling rock clock. I don't need this shit. I can wear a watch. Well, thank God for the instructions. So you have to raise the heat up to a certain range, and then just wait for the egg to hatch. Alright, while the game does its thing, let's read up on a little history. According to the manual, the species that we will be raising was originally discovered in Egypt in the 1930s by a French anthro-bioarchaeologist, Jean-Paul Gasset. His hypothesis suggests that the creature was responsible for transferring knowledge and language across the land during the Third Dynasty. The creature is said to be the reincarnation to it. You turn off the game, come back to it a day later, or 5 minutes later, like me.
You visit often. If one didn't know better, one might assume you're quite obsessed. Or you have nothing better to do.
Oh, I have better things to do. No.
I think it's not working very well.
No way. It's an official Famicom disc game that...
That was the process we went through to produce the game. It was released in July '99. A lot of news and info programs on Japanese TV introduced it alongside the Aibo robot released by Sony. And as if they are saying, as if we are entering a new era where we lived alongside the computers. Seaman wound up selling a surprise number of the copies, and we found out that the majority of purchases were women, and a lot of players bought the game with the Dreamcast hardware system also. To put it in another way, it earned a lot of new users for us. Things proceeded exactly as we theorized they would. I was lucky. To be frank, I don't think Sega believed many of the theories I put across to them. They didn't think it would sell that much. I agree with that. So I learned that when they don't make the full planned order to the voice mic that comes with the game to the factory in Taiwan, we ran out of the parts quick, and thanks to that, we had a mounting of back orders. Having the legendary game sell out in the market only further contributed to the near mythological air around it. It was really good news to Sega. As I've shown, creating a new category of game isn't just about completing the game program and graphics. You need enough consistency to answer the several thousand questions about it from the people involved. All the undefined things that need to be pinned down. If these things lost their consistency during the development, it will break apart mid-flight. I have ever read a journal written by the wife of movie director Francis Ford Coppola. And this was the book about the middle of the production of Francis Ford Coppola, and he was in the middle of the status being lost. If the leader starts feeling lost, developing falls into really bad situations. And the game designer needs to start with the faith and the conviction that's stronger than rock. It's not that you are prepared for everything. So you need to build your own theories. If you ask me what the most important thing is, though, ask me if it's having those theories. This is not what I said. The most important thing is that you execute it, not only to exploring your theories in your mind. Test your hypothesis in reality and prove it as a correct by completing your titles. There are probably several hundred people who come up with an idea almost as unique as yours. But if there's a way to show off your inner strength, it's by bringing that theory to reality. It takes one person out of several hundred to do that. Hitting an idea of taking, a talking fish is not an exploit. If we are allowed to call Seaman as an achievement, we think of it as dumb because we did manage to accomplish this crazy idea as a commercial product and put it into the market. So please do not be scared to be different from the conventional existing games. I encourage you to swim against the stream. Do not try to predict the future, but just make it. Seaman was blessed by a development team, including Mr. Endo, Roy-san, Suzukita-san, Ito, Suzuki, Hirose, who believed in me enough that they even quit their job to participate in this project. I also got to collaborate with a very generous publisher whose name is Sega. Those two parties are what allowed this to become a hit, and I think it provides a precious case study to look at. I'd like to thank Fukui-san, who helped me this trip, Lopez Hussein, who coordinated my trip also, Josh-san, Stadio Hachinoyon-san, Kyoko-san for a great translation, as well as Megan at the GDC, who gave me such a great opportunity to be here. And most of you, I would like to thank you being here. Thank you very much. Thanks for listening. So we have another 50 minutes, so Kyoko-san will be helping me to, if you have any question, please raise your hand.
Yeah, or if you don't mind, we're recording audio, so there are two mics in the room. If you could come up to either of those mics. Thanks. So bright.
Hi, can I go?
Yes.
Hi, I'd just like to know how you decided what things to put in it understood, because I got into a lot of trouble because it asked me if I was having an affair.
Getting personal.
Would you speak slowly, please?
Okay, yes. So how did you decide what scenarios or what situations that it would understand and respond to? So... Can I, do you want to rephrase that?
Actually, that was a very good question because I wrote the script. I mean, I wrote the dialogues myself. If we had 2 or 3 or more writers, we couldn't have a kind of a consistency. I mean, it will be kind of a mixture of several personality, and that will be kind of very dangerous to entertain people because sometimes the personality of a Seaman changes day by day, and that is a very risky thing. So I did one person. The key is one person does that, and I did that from my experience. So I'm not a professional writer. I just express what I thought, and so Seaman is something like a part of me actually. And I did the voice actor too, so it's a strange feeling. But if you're running your own studio, right?
No.
Oh no.
I wish I was. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But if you're too, then what you have to be careful is that the tiny sentence, tiny dialogues have a kind of personality in it. And the user will be very aware of that if you have the several personality in one program. That's a very subtle, but they will know. So, and that causes kind of a tiny contradiction. So, the key is that one personality does everything at once. That's gonna the key to have a deep personality in the computer program.
Okay.
Was it a good answer?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello. Oh,
Hello.
I was loud. I'm on other side. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Yo.
Brent.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about the kind of the weird viral marketing stuff, like the strange websites and all of that? Were you involved with that, and how did it come to be?
何のそれ？Seaman. Are you talking about the kind of weird history things?
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was 10 years old, my father took me to a kind of strange exhibition. There was, Kyoko-san, would you translate for me?
Sure.
シーラカンスって変な魚がいて、その魚の死体が東京に飾られてたんですね。それはアフリカの化石って呼ばれてる変な魚なんですけど、そこまでじゃん。でそれをモノマネして本当にいるかのようにシーマンをリリースするときに博物館でそういうシーマンエキシビションっていうのをやったんです。本物の博物館で。で実際にテレビのモニターを置いたり剥製作ったり化石作ったりしてこう瓶の中のなんて言うんでしたっけホルマリンに入れて置いておいたんです。そういう世界観を作ったのは今思うと世界観を作りたかったんですけれどもYou speak Japanese, right? Does it make sense? She's gonna translate. Yeah, please go ahead. 仮っていうかそこに飛んだらなんか別のものがウェブサイトが上がってたそういうのも一応関わってはいたんですか斉藤さんの方。いやそれはよく意味が分かんないですね。それはマーケティングのじゃあ宣伝の方たちが担当されてるんですか。
Okay, so it sounds like, so I wasn't involved in the entirety of kind of the whole entire viral marketing campaign, but the one that was, I guess, stemmed from an idea that or an experience that I had is that my dad took me to this very unique, interesting exhibit when I was 10 years old. And it was basically kind of I guess it's maybe a history museum or an aquarium sort of / historical museum. And they had a creature from Africa called the sea buckans. Shiracans, yeah. And it was...
Shiracans, 英語でなんて言うんですかね?
Coelacanths.
Yeah.
So it was an entire exhibit on that, and it came in different shapes and forms. They had a skeletal sort of writing or photos of it, exhibits of it. And I thought that was a pretty cool, like it left a really strong impression on me. So with Seaman, I kind of wanted to recreate that exact same experience that I had when I went to that exhibit. And so we came up with, ideas as if this really existed in our world, and basically had this exhibit or installation where we would talk about the history of Seaman, give them the background, give them the story, and even have these mock-ups of like what Seaman looked like. And so that was something that stemmed from my own experience that I wanted to exploit and set really the background so that people would really get into the story and the history of Seaman.
Great.
All right, so in your talk, you mentioned that you wanted the player to feel like Seaman was reaching out to them and interacting with their life as opposed to the player interacting with his world. Technology has changed a lot since the original game was developed. Now we have social media, webcams, and VR, etc. If you were making a game like Seaman today, or if you had the technology that exists today back then, what kind of technologies would you integrate to create a more immersive experience?
Yeah, I'm very much interested in what's called the wearable, so that collect the information all over the world about him. And unfortunately, iOS has a lot of the guideline between the applications. So one application cannot take the information from others, right? Android is more easy to do that because once, let's say, the application of Seaman detect that you got a mail from your girlfriend, but you didn't respond to that. Oh, why you didn't do that? What happened between that kind of thing? I very much want to do, but iOS is limiting that kind of activity between the applications. So, and these kind of things like iWatch and Apple Watch and some other devices. Yeah, it's very much interesting. But the first thing I just want to do is the things I just mentioned, like your activity in the other applications, like you are calling somebody so many times, but you couldn't get any call back. And Seaman's going to start mentioning about what the relationship between two of you is, something like that. Is what, yeah. That is totally different from that kind of Seaman in the way that this version has sceneries, huge sceneries. But to do that kind of the smartphone games, we just need a real AI, endlessly speaking. And that's what I have been working on. Still, it's not achieved, so I couldn't release a new version. But that's one of the most things I'm very much interested in.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, question. Do you especially like writing manuals? I'm asking that, the manual that come with the game.
What is
the manual?
The manual.
Okay,
yeah, because we saw Seaman,
yes.
It has an interesting history at the beginning.
Yep.
Sim Tower, I remember it was very interesting because midway through the manual, you explained how the game was working. At the very end, you said, I want this to put West and East in touch, and you actually signed the manual, if I remember well, and that I don't remember another case. So do you have a special interest in doing these kind of things?
Writing a manual should be the task for a producer, I think. Only producer is always busy when it should be written, so some other guy take over the job. As well, as company make the presentation of the new game, but they don't spend so much time on it. They just spend half an hour before the presentation in the cafe and bring that. A producer spend, a year or two on that, always thinking about that. So basically, I think producer should, like the theory, throw that kind of clue or hints to the ads people, manual writers, the hook or maybe axis. Because the best game is the game that people don't need a manual. Game itself, like the Nintendo game, speaks about its role the first. I think so, yeah. But I did myself over writing because I love writing, and I didn't believe that kind of hired manual people, temporary writing things is not always not good. Finally, the developing team have to take care of that. I knew that, so I started from the writing, even far before the game was completed. So the manual was kind of a spec sheet to the developing team almost.
Yeah, no, that's the interesting manual that adds to the game. It's not explaining it, the controls. It's just telling more. So yeah.
Thank you.
A lot of things that today call themselves AI seem much, much, much dumber than Seaman seemed then. So I think you did an incredible job of simulating intelligence. And to follow up on the very first question, which asked about how you created all of the unique responses. Could you give us some idea of how many total unique responses you created in order to simulate that intelligence?
Yeah, actually, the first version of Seaman is not an AI at all. That was a massive written materials did it, and the number of the folk was uncountable. In
thousands?
I know, much
Tens
more.
Of thousands?
I don't know. At least the number of the jobs is more than 200. So the combination of those kind of things, I don't know. I have never. It's uncountable. But the Seaman is one of the job that only young guys can do. So now I need an AI because I'm not so much younger back to them. But the response is actually English version was done by somebody else. I mean, American people. So I'm not so much familiar with the American version, but in Japanese version. Yeah, we did put a lot of 日本語でなんて言うんだろうな、ちょっと短いタームで訳してほしいんですけど、なんか言った時にこう自分で声もやってると面白がらせることいっぱいできました。面白がらせることをたくさんできた。自分で声優もやって自分でライターもやってるからいたずらいっぱい入れることができたんですね。
You know what? Because I was basically playing that role myself, it was so much more, I guess, I had the pleasure and leisure to kind of like play around, play tricks, fool around. So it was just basically like a banter with myself. and that led to new discoveries in so many different scenarios.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello. Quick question. Do you plan on creating more strange games like Seaman, or to bring back Seaman in some shape or form?
For these 5 years, I've been out of the game industry for very private reason, and I think I'm coming back. And for these years, what I have been doing was something to create a kind of AI. It's not a game; it's a kind of R&D. And so now I started thinking about a new game, and it's going to be very strange. I mean, it will be like a very unexisting. And I just started on that with a publisher in Japan. I can't tell you that well, but
awesome.
It's a little bit related to Bitcoin.
Okay.
It's something like mining your own gold and make your own money.
Interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, with using blockchain technologies. Yeah, that's almost everything.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
On that note, it's just at 3 o'clock right now. So I think that's going to be it for us today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. ありがとうございました。